Is it out sitting beside me? Olivia McTaggart, first time we've seen her today.
3.97 is a nice and easy opening height as far as her season's gone so far. It's been a pretty standard height for her to come in at, so there shouldn't be anything tricky about it as long as she's feeling good and she's got the wind behind her, feeling ready, and she is.
Ready to go. Olivia McTaggart, the favourite, enters the competition for the first time at a height of 3.97 metres and it wobbles. It was a big intake of breath and I think she knows it as well.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny. Very similar to Imogen's last jump. Same thing, beautiful height. I mean, there's no difficulty with height today, which is what you need, of course, but yeah, just short, came up short and came down on the bar, but it stayed up, which is just awesome. Way, look at that. That was excellent.
That was a great shot, looking straight up and over as Olivia McTaggart makes a good entry into this competition. Well, she has got some big goals. I'd love to see her hit a World Championship qualifying mark here today. 4.56 metres will get her on the plane to Doha. Was her brother there?
That
I
was
just
her
saw
brother,
Cameron,
Cam
weightlifter,
McTaggart.
weightlifter at the Commonwealth Games last year.
Yeah, both people pole vaulting around the country, but Jeremy was the first one to really pull together a squad, put all the resources in needed. He did it all himself for many years. He bought the poles, he bought the equipment. It's quite phenomenal how lucky we are to have such a determined and passionate person in our sport, and is really why we can pursue pole vault in New Zealand as a world-class athlete. And it's just proof. All of these are as athletes.
Here is one of the best too. Olivia McTaggart, first attempt at 4.07. Should be able to... Oh, I've jinxed her there terribly. That's the commentator's curse.
That wasn't a great takeoff from her. It looked like she was just a little bit under. And as the competition goes on, you get more adrenaline. That does happen. You just run yourself under, and it's just because you've got so excited, you just run faster and you just get a little bit too close, and that does happen, and that's okay because usually it's an easy fix. You just move back on or what she's moving them to, but what the bar sits on, you can move those back and forth to how you want them, and even something as simple as moving those uprights can completely change whether you clear the jump or not. Stops you coming down on it.
Helpful, yes. Right, Olivia McTaggart, 4.07, second attempt. Crowd getting in as well for the New Zealand national champion. McTaggart missed her first attempt, and this time there's daylight between her and the bar. No problem at all. McTaggart over at 4.07.
That was a beautiful jump, lots of height as we see in this replay coming up. She's on a good long 16-step run up. Lovely jump. There was a lot of height on that. That is a
young woman can secure a World Championship qualifying jump today. Still a little bit of a way to go, but good signs for Olivia McTaggart.
Absolutely. So we see Nicholas Southgate here is warming himself up. You have to be very precise, and I'm speaking between, you don't want to vary much than 10 centimetres. So it's not an easy feat as Olivia is standing there. She's 16 steps today, which will probably be around 30 metres, even a bit further back than 30 metres on the runway. So you need to be consistent.
Really, really fine margins in this sport as Olivia McTaggart makes her first attempt at 4.17 metres.
Nice jump.
Great jump. Good form from Olivia McTaggart.
She's looking really great today. That was a beautiful jump. Very easy, as we would hope at these heights, so it's great to see she's having a good day today. In this replay, you'll see that she has lovely height over it. Let go of the pole nice and early. Nothing could touch that bar. She was well and truly clear.
When you're coming down at pace like that and you're obviously wanting to, you plant your pole in that box right at the edge of the mouth.
Not only because you're having to wait between jumps and you don't have a lot of time between jumps, you have to recover quickly, but also just to compete with somebody. Sometimes it just gives you a bit more adrenaline and just a bit, you just fight that little bit harder sometimes. So I don't think it's a bad thing at all.
Olivia McTaggart ready for her first attempt at 4.27 metres, strides down the makeshift runway and runs through, loses the pole in the process.
It looked like there might have been a headwind on that last jump, same as Imogen, which just makes it a bit tricky when you've been dealing with the tailwind up until that point. So could just be something minor and just move on to the next attempt, not worry too much about it.
So that counts as an attempt for her?
Yes, so if you run onto the mats in front of where you plant the pole, you've passed 0, and so that is an attempt. Whereas if she had managed to stop her run,
now she can clear
Absolutely.
this. Wow, what a way it would be to finish the season. Imagineris. Right, on to Olivia McTaggart here.
it's like Hannah's warming down, which is a good effort for an athlete after a competition. Sometimes you really can't be bothered. But
Don't listen to that advice. It's always warm
but you
down.
always do it anyway.
Right, Olivia McTaggart.
There's focus in her eyes. She's ready for this.
4.27 metres. Missed at her first attempt here. Good, strong stride down that runway and just catching that bar on the way through.
Not a bad effort though. It was not a bad jump at all. She just hit it on the way down. She certainly had the space. A little bit frustrating because you're over the height and then your arm knocks it off afterwards.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there one
Way to end the season though, and a few of these athletes, 4 of them actually, including Olivia here, are qualified for the Oceania Champs this year and are named in the team. I believe that's in June, end of June, that competition, and that's a really great one for developing athletes. It's going to mean a lot because God, I can't get into it now, but there's a new ranking system essentially that means that if they jump well at this competition, it's worth a lot of points and it boosts their ranking. Looking ahead actually into 2020.
which of course is looming on the horizon for many. Olivia McTaggart.
Last attempt.
Yeah, missed twice at 4.27. James Dane and Nick Southgate just to the left of the runway there.
Getting a clap going.
Yeah. There's a big crowd have come in. They're wedged at every vantage point, looking down from on high as well as McTaggart goes for 4.27.
Really nice. Easy clearance as well. Like she's been doing all season, she shows she's capable of these heights and she just clears them so easily, which is really good ahead of the big heights looming ahead of her. And now that she is the only one left in the competition, she will be choosing which height to go to next.
So what would the philosophy be to choose if you're choosing your height? Where does she go from here?
Well, it can go one of two, which is a bit shaky. You need to be in control of everything you're doing, and she'll be ready. She'll be so in the thick of the competition right now. She'll be feeling really ready to go and just confident that she's got this.
Olivia McTaggart steps up onto the runway once more for her first attempt at 4.40 metres. She will be, of course, the women's champion. She's the only women left in the competition. Aria Rhodes, Isabella Morel, Hannah Philpott, Imagineris all competed, and so now it's all on McTaggart, and she looks nice and relaxed, doesn't she? Ready to go. Got the crowd all behind her at 4.40, having just made a great clearance at 4.27. Up she goes. No, she doesn't, and runs through.
Oh dear, first attempt. It can be a bit hard when you've just had a really good jump. You just got to refocus for the next one, and sometimes that first attempt isn't the best jump, and in this case just didn't feel right, pulled out. But 2 more attempts to go. She just needs to stay calm. Just everything that she's been doing up until this point has been really great, so nothing new needs to happen. Just sometimes you need to stop.
Olivia McTaggart strides back. Said there's a lot going on. It must be hard, and particularly
It was so loud. I couldn't hear Jeremy. I couldn't hear my thoughts. I couldn't concentrate. There's so much going on. So that some crowds are just incredibly loud. So this sort of thing, it's not unusual to have a lot of noise, the music in the background, people wandering around, chatting away. You've got to be able to deal with distraction, and in some ways it's almost not distraction, it just fuels your adrenaline. You've just got so much pumping through you that you're just ready and you just focus in. You can see the way that she's staring down that runway. She is absolutely focused. She knows what she needs to do.
second attempt for Olivia McTaggart at 4.40 metres. Missed out on the first, but has looked pretty calm and pretty confident so far here at the Highway P30 vertical pursuit. Here goes McTaggart.
Nice.
Oh, pole snap.
Oh my goodness. It looks like she's probably it,
Well, that's helpful.
but it looks like her hands in one piece, which is important because, oh, well done. That's a really rough thing that does not happen often.
Oh, here it is again. And the rarity and the noise it makes is quite extraordinary, and it was an awkward landing for McTaggart as well. Jeepers. She's got herself up.
So it can be a lot worse than that. Nicholas Southgate has broken a lot of poles in his time, so he leaves him really sore. And even like, I wouldn't be surprised if the pole hit her at some point when it snapped on the back of the head or something. That can happen as well. So,
but usually the fright that comes with it too.
And I was just going to say, usually the best thing you can do is just get on and do another jump straight away. If you're physically, medically
too.
And people do get little injuries from that sort of thing. I mean, it does happen, but she's snapped a pole before. She knows what she's doing. The best thing for her to do is get into the air again, and that should really help her just move on, because it's not a common thing. The pole, for that to happen, usually needs to be damaged, which obviously you tend to catch that before you try and jump on them.
What does it mean for the competition, though? Is this her third attempt, or do you get another attempt when your pole snaps? Now I'm putting you under pressure, the officials and the rules.
Okay, so I'm going to say that this is possibly a third attempt. Sometimes officials, they're there to help you. Yeah. So it depends how they want to judge it. But she landed on the mat. She's looking quite sore there.
Of course, it starts to get a bit cold and seize up and things like that too. Whether she can continue on here, Olivia McTaggart, would be a great shame if a snapped pole ends her competition, particularly when she is really hitting some good form. A lot of tension around in the faces of the crowd who've come here to watch too, and I guess it's the rarity of being able to compete at home.
It's the rarity of a pole snap as well. I mean, it's a bit of a shock for everybody, because it happens, but it doesn't. It's a rare thing, but it looks like she's going to give it her best shot to get into the air again, which would be a great feat for her.
This is really gutsy from Olivia McTaggart. Oh no, she's sore every time she tries to grip that pole in around the wrist and a thumb, and I don't know if she's going to be able to. Competition where she'll be able to try and get a World Champs qualifying jump by any stretch of the imagination.
Yes, absolutely. She's got the time.
Oh, she's determined though, isn't she? She is absolutely determined that she's going to get up and have another go. You can just see the official there to the right with the stopwatch. So because she is the last woman in the competition, she does have a bit more time between vaults, and here she goes again, wants to do this. See if it's mind over matter a little bit, if the body is going to allow. Olivia McTaggart, here she goes at 4:40. The pole snapped last time. She's injured and she's just a bit uncertain, and I think you can probably understand why.
Oh, she's just asking if that is her third attempt, and
it looks like she got a nod of yeah. Maybe it wasn't.
Like.
We'll just try and get clarification.
The way she's walking back, though, I imagine she's got one more attempt, which is not the overarching official, and he can decide if she deserves another attempt. So they might have, gone ahead and done that, which is pretty fair.
A little bit of home ground advantage, perhaps, but fair enough.
Good to get down the runway one more time, so she's, to get the legs ticking over again. That's a good start. So the third attempt should just be that little bit easier to get down that runway, get herself an area record, that sort of thing. But 5 minutes is a lot of time, though. It doesn't necessarily sound like it, but it is a lot of time to get yourself ready when you're the only one left.
Certainly doesn't look like she'll take all of that 5 minutes allowed to her, Olivia McTaggart. So put that on the first, and then took to the third attempt to get a really good clearance. Nicely done at 4.27, and now 4:40 has proved a challenge. The snapped pole on her second attempt. That made quite the loud noise, bang, around Federal Street and echoing around the street, because we are quite enclosed here. And so now she'll have another go, one more. 4.40, doesn't appear to be looking at the thumb and wrist quite as much now.
No, she's a gutsy person. She will not give up, knowing Olivia McTaggart. She will be doing her best to finish this competition one way or another. Even just getting in the air is a great achievement after this. But she's determined. You can see that in her eyes.
There's a steely look in the eyes of McTaggart. Here she goes again at 4:40. Guts and grit and determination. Nice. McTaggart at 4:40. Oh, just pulled out just a little bit short. But it's been an incredible effort from this young woman, the New Zealand champion.
That was great to see her get in the air and start a rock back. I mean, a rock back being when you swing yourself around and upside down. That was a really great effort because that's so important after a snap. It just makes it a lot easier for yourself next time round. So even though she didn't clear it, getting back in the air was a great achievement, and unfortunately not the way she probably would have wanted for this competition to go. But considering the circumstances, she didn't do a bad effort.
And she is, of course, the winner of the women's competition.
Absolutely,
Huawei P30 vertical pursuit with a clearance of 4.27. Olivia McTaggart will take out the women's competition from Imogen Arison. Gee, there's been plenty of action, that's for sure. Gosh, a lot of shock around the place as well when that pole snapped, but she showed real guts and heart to have another crack. And it's been an excellent season for Olivia McTaggart, an athlete of fabulous promise, and we cannot wait to watch her over the next few months in an attempt to get to that World Championship qualifying standard.
And even that, looking ahead